And we begin the video for Deathly Hallows Part 2 with me mentioning one thing I really like about Part 1. Very small thing, very beginning when Harry and Ginny share a kiss at the burrow. We just hear morning, and I think, is it Fred who gets the ear? Yeah, and he's got this kind of thing, I think a spoon sticking out of his ear, and he's got like a mug of tea, and he's just like, it's just a really funny little tiny comedic moment I loved. So, the
He
final...
just stood watching, leaning on the counter.
Yeah, very casual. So the final film, which we saw together when it came out. And
I don't remember us seeing it together.
yeah, I remember us going to Burger King afterwards. And
I remember taking pictures in Burger King.
I don't remember that.
Because I've seen the memories on Facebook, I think.
Ah, okay, that makes sense.
So it should be right around the corner then.
Yeah, so...
Remember, right?
Yeah, and... Yeah, no, it was July. Came out July 2011. That was the...
never mind.
Yeah. So... I think I'd only seen this twice. You said you think you've only seen it the once when we saw it in the cinema, right? Yeah. I saw it again with my mum when it came out on DVD, I think, because she wanted to see it.
DVD,
yeah. It was just before I got into Blu-ray. Anyway, back to the film. I was really excited about this one because I hadn't seen it, anywhere near as many times as the other ones, and so it did feel at times like a new film. But I have problems with it, and this is where I just need to let it go, I think, because it doesn't help. It's never going to be changed, and I've done a whole video ranting about it. If you want to see me go full rant on this film, my Part 8 of the Harry Potter Odyssey series I did many years ago, I did a very long review of this film. I read like about 15 minutes out of the book because I was so impassioned about what they should have done. But I still watching it now and trying to forget about that kind of stuff. It's a great film. I never denied that though. I think it is a great film and it's a great finale. And because they split the book into two films, you get kind of like a 2-hour third act. Basically, you get this massive climax at Hogwarts. Well, I guess you have the Gringotts thing in the beginning. That's like your opening action sequence, and then we dive right into Hogwarts and this huge ending.
Yay, back at Hogwarts.
Back at Hogwarts, but it's Hogwarts is getting completely destroyed. So how do you feel revisiting this one?
Kind of like what you said, it's been so long since I saw it, and I don't remember seeing it more than once. It's just like seeing a new Harry Potter movie, even though I remember probably 85% of it.
Yeah.
Some parts of it that I find kind of like,
Yeah, which parts?
I don't know. Dumbledore's brother, something about him, that scene that just goes to me. It's necessary, but to me it's kind of like, okay, there you are. You don't seem to care, but he does care, so it makes sense. Anyway, he's there, and we need him to be there. Never mind, but it's just, to me, it's like, maybe the chemistry isn't there or something. I don't know. I feel like something about that scene is off.
Well, I think that I can kind of see where you're coming from, but I think that scene might work better if we had more of an inkling or a build up to it.
That there was a brother.
See,
so if she actually read the book, then she would have told us.
Well, it wasn't even that. I mean, in the Deathly Hallows book, Harry reads all of Dumbledore's biography, and he's intrigued by this man who he thought he knew, and all this history, It's that whole idea that Harry thought all this time I thought I knew him, and I didn't know him at all. So he's not just dealing with the fact that he's been left with this whole quest. He's now on his own. He doesn't have anyone, who can help him. Well, of course, he has Ron and Hermione, but he's on his own. He's doing this thing on his own, and now even the leadership he received previously from Dumbledore is put into question in his mind. He's like, did he even trust me to even tell me these things? So, and then you find out that Dumbledore wasn't this perfect person, and he was kind of responsible for the death of his sister. And it's all about how you look at characters like Dumbledore, who's seen as this, like a great character, like he's so good, and he's so right. And then you have Snape, who's like a horrible character, and he's such a spiteful person. But then
you see another side of him.
And you see another side to him. So you see that there is good in Snape, and you see that there has been bad in Dumbledore. And that's another thing I didn't like, was that when Harry dies, spoilers at the end, and he sees Dumbledore at that kind of limbo in between life and death. In the film, Dumbledore's very airy and bright and kind of "Oh, it's your party," and he's very kind of flippant. In the book, he's like almost in tears, like apologizing to Harry, like he's so full of guilt that he
He
didn't.
should have been.
He should have been, and he's like, I'm sorry. I don't remember the dialogue off the top of my head, but he was really apologetic and felt so bad, and felt that he'd done things wrong. And that was so important because again, you see the good in Snape, the bad in Dumbledore, and the kind of balance there.
The first thing he says though is, "You brave man." Like,
yes, that worked. I like that.
That was really good. Like,
really, yes.
You've done brilliantly.
Yes, that was where I thought, oh, this is really going to work. But then, I don't think it's a bad scene or anything. It's done well. But
he's acting exactly the way that he's done the whole time.
Yes, but that's what's so great about it, because you see Dumbledore act differently because now Harry knows all this stuff. And so, but again, I understand why they trimmed it down maybe, but I think that guilt should have been there. Anyway, so...
And Harry should have questioned him because of the memories of Snape.
Yep, that would have been...
Like, if he saw that the same day...
Yeah.
And he found out that Dumbledore knew that Harry had to die, and he'd been lying to him this whole time.
Exactly, yeah.
And then now he's dead, so he should really go like, you killed me slowly, like something, you know?
Yeah.
But it's a good... I think it's one of the saddest movies as well. I don't know if there's any of the other movies where I cry as many times as I do in this one.
Sure, yeah, it's very emotional.
Snape.
Right, okay.
He kills me. That part is really, really killing me. And but that's because I know that he was kind of good. And then Fred, I wish that there was more emphasis on.
Yep, emphasis.
Yes,
yes,
on
I agree.
That death.
I agree.
Because we all grow to love Fred, and we should see the pain in the Weasleys more. You see Ron going like, but that's not enough.
I think that...
There should be screaming and dying. I mean, there was more about Rob dying. What was his name? Cedric.
Yeah.
That was even more like, my boy, and that stuff.
I think that probably the intention from that scene was probably just this kind of, at that point, everyone's just defeated. Like, Voldemort's like, attend to your wounded, and whatever, and we'll all retreat. And it's just this kind of sense of, like, there's a bit where Trelawney is just like with this other student. She's like, oh, yeah, that's it, she's passed. Just you're seeing people, just sheets getting drawn over. There's a moment where you see George's face and he's crying, and it looks like he's genuinely crying. And I'm sure it's probably very easy for him to just imagine that his actual real-life brother was dead.
Yeah.
And that's what gets me, is just seeing that very brief glimpse of his face where he's just in tears. That's what gets me about it. But I understand what you mean, because it fades off then into Harry breaking off from the crowd. And
I want it to be... I want to bawl my eyes out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get it.
Like, when Cedric dies, I almost go, gah! Like that. You know what I mean?
And that's Cedric.
Yeah. No one likes Cedric. It's freaking Twilight. You know what I mean?
How many times can you say, do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean?
Do you know what I mean? But, like, Fred, we love Fred. And then you seeing, like, if they could have just said, like, if she could have finished that sentence saying that Lupin and what's her name?
Tonks.
Yeah. That they have a baby.
Yeah.
That makes you even sadder. They should have built it up. They should have made people want to freaking stop breathing when they watch this movie.
That whole thing is very, very just brushed under the carpet. You get that one line in the first film where she's like, oh, we got great news. And then Mad Eye's like, oh, enough of that now,
Yeah, exactly.
But
I even think, what's his name, who collects the students?
Oh, Slughorn.
Slughorn. When he looks up at Harry, he's like, Harry? You know what I mean? Even that's just like breaking my heart in a way. He's looking at him. He always has that stupid look on his face, but like the way he looks at him is like helpless. Yeah. Like he makes it seem like, Harry, what are you gonna do? What's happened already? You got to do something, because this has happened. And then you see the aftermath of everything. But I just feel like we should have mourned Fred.
Yeah, I agree.
He deserves more tears.
Yeah.
I don't have the time to cry. I mean, for God's sakes. Even Ginny and Ron, and then Ginny looks more upset when she sees Harry dead, when he's not dead. And Hagrid, oh my God, Hagrid breaks my heart.
Yeah, that
when
image,
he's carrying
just that
Harry.
image of him carrying him is so like, yeah.
Because you know how much he loves Harry.
Yes.
I'm almost choking up.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking, oh my god, he has to carry the dead boy that he loves. It's like a son to him.
Yeah.
And you can see, oh, his acting is so good.
Mm-hmm.
It's freaking brilliant. It's really good.
That's,
Turn the camera away because I got tears in my eyes.
that's the thing, that the film, I feel like, doesn't get things wrong. It could have done things better.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it gets so much right as well. There's so many great moments.
Only like 10 or 15 more seconds of Fred.
I agree.
Would have done.
And that's another thing. People can say like, oh well, there's only so much time. You can't have it be too long. This is the shortest Harry Potter film. I don't think anyone was thinking, oh, I hope it's under 2 hours.
No. You don't want it to end. This is the end. You don't want it to end.
Right, and I think Chamber of Secrets is the longest, like 2.5 hours. I would have gladly had this be 2.5 hours and get like more of that depth and stuff.
You could have done a lot more with just 10 more minutes.
I agree. I totally agree. Just 10 more minutes, I think, would have really pushed this film to the next level. And that's the frustrating thing. I think it's a great film. I think it could have been an incredible one. But as it is, it's just kind of great.
And there are things that could have been cut, that could have been put into,
right,
more sad stuff.
And again, we get like a very passing mention of Dumbledore's sister, in the portrait. I don't think she's even name checked. It's like, oh yeah, you know who she is. And yeah, there's so much to talk about with this film that we're not going to cover everything, obviously. But as you say, the Snape thing, that whole Snape's memory sequence is incredibly well done.
Yeah, it's well put together. It's very short and
I'm not the biggest fan of him cradling Lily's body while Harry's there crying. I just don't like that.
No, that part gets me so much.
Right.
Because he loved Lily.
Yeah.
Of course he would pick her up, and he plays so well there.
It is a very good performance.
The love of his life is dead.
Yeah, I just I didn't like that particular. It went a bit too far in that sense, because you're literally just seeing Snape walking over James Potter's body, where it just kind of seems to kind of.
It's all about Lily. He never liked James.
No, I know that. I know that, but I felt like seeing that was a bit too much. Another thing that I loved was the whole resurrection.
I don't understand how that would be too much. If I found someone else and I had a baby with them and then I died, would you not go straight over to me?
That's different, because we've been in a relationship for so long. He was never with her. I don't know. I just feel he
kind of was in the childhood.
I suppose
she's the one who took him in. He loved her probably the same way that you love me. And
that's another thing. I will say, people love to kind of put Snape on a golden pedestal. I still think at the end of the day he is kind of a twat. He's still an asshole. He is. So I don't love Snape, but I do like that his character has that complexity to it. And
that he maybe even knew when he started doing the movies, because J.K. Rowling told him something that no one else got to know.
Exactly.
So he put that into his performance throughout the whole thing. Yeah.
That's a really cool element, I think. But yeah, I was going to say, another scene I love is the Resurrection Stone scene. And
that kills me.
Yes, like that's one of those scenes where it's like you're not getting emotional and like tears are forming. Like,
I did.
No. Let me finish. It's not where you get emotional and tears start forming. It's where you get emotional and you start feeling like your throat constrict. Like you start feeling it in your chest. Like it is just so powerful.
That's where I was holding back. Like.
Yes.
But you know what? It was more seeing Sirius than any of the others.
Well, of course, because he's the only one that Harry's really bonded. Well, Lupin to a degree, but there was something more special with him and Sirius. Oh, God. And so that's...
Like, he got to see his parents and talk to them properly. But, like, Sirius, yeah.
That was the best part.
I love Sirius.
Yes. And also the fact that the Resurrection Stone was one of the Deathly Hallows. And that Harry had it and decided to leave it, because that's the whole idea of this. The three brothers who had these instruments from death, and they used them and coveted them, and that led to them kind of, wasting away in their lives. And so, and there's even a whole thing in the...
Well, he knew he was going to go and die anyway.
No, I know, but there's like a whole thing in the book, I guess, where Dumbledore was obsessed with getting the Deathly Hallows. That's why he's got the wand, because he was seeking them out and stuff. And
he knew that Harry had the cloak.
Yeah. Well, that's a whole other thing where it turns out
and he knew that it was inside of the snitch. He gave the snitch to him.
Yeah, he gave him the Resurrection Stone. He knew. I guess he knew.
So he could have had all of it.
Yes, that's the thing.
He could have just taken the cloak, and that would have been it.
Yeah. So that's another whole interesting element in the book where it's like and also the possibility that Harry and Dumbledore are both descendants of those three brothers because they both are from Godric's Hollow, which is where those three brothers were.
And at some point
originally
had all
from.
three.
Exactly right.
Even though he didn't have the wand physically, he was still the master.
The master, exactly.
So
yeah.
he was actually a master of death.
Yeah, yeah. He had that power if he so chose it, but he again chose to throw it away.
He probably knew at that point too, didn't he?
Yes. So I love that that kind of that finale, and the battery's running out, and I feel like we're still kind of just a little bit more. So I'll just grab the charger and we'll continue that.
Yeah, because I want to say.
Okay, and we're back, and you said you wanted to say something
About the book when I was reading it. Because at some point you find out that Harry is the Horcrux in book 7.
Yeah.
And I've been trying to figure it out. Like, I was thinking about, like, what could the Horcruxes be and blah, blah, blah. Why is it this and that like this? And before Dumbledore said it to Snape or something, before it actually says in the book that Harry is a Horcrux,
Okay.
I remember slamming the book shut. I was sat in the train station. I don't know where I was going. Probably home from work or something. And I just... the book. He's a Horcrux. Like, I was thinking this. I didn't say it out loud, but I was like, Harry's a Horcrux. And I looked around, like, is there anyone I can tell? And I think I messaged it to you right away when I was like, figure it out before it's set. And I keep reading. I was like, that's what it says. I figured it out before. And I felt like I solved one of these, like, mystery crime books in a way. Because there's been hints everywhere. But I didn't read the other books. So maybe I would have figured it out earlier. But, like... before it was said, I figured it out, and I was just like, oh. And just the way that I just slammed the book together, like, and looked around. Is there anyone I can tell that I figured it out on my own before it even said in the book? It's just a cool memory.
Yeah.
I remember exactly where I sat and everything.
I remember when the book came out, I went to the midnight kind of bookshop opening, you know, it's kind of a first...
release
night, a release thing.
Opening. It's the first time they opened the book.
And I was queuing up outside W.H. Smith's in my hometown, and a group of kids, teenagers, drove past, and this girl was hanging out of the window with the book in her hand, and she went, Harry dies! Harry dies!
How did she know?
She just picked up the book and skipped to the end, I guess. Or she was making it up, whatever. And I remember, like, all the people in the queue just kind of like, and this, like, old one was like, oh, I didn't care anyway, like. And I was just like, huh. And then I got home, and there was a woman living with us at the time, my uncle's ex-wife, and she very kind of, what's the word? She enjoyed telling me. She's like, oh, you know he dies at the end, don't you?
What the fuck is wrong with her?
I know, she thought it was hilarious to ruin it for me. But...
I'm sorry, but come on.
I agree. In that moment, I would agree with that sentiment.
Troll.
A troll, yeah. She was real life.
Yeah, that's me saying it nicely in case she's watching. But if you're watching, don't you dare do that to anyone else.
Yeah, that is it's a horrible thing to do. But
it's actually worse than what your dad used to do with the books in the library.
We'll leave that. Now people will be wondering forever what my dad used to do with books in the library. Which I don't actually believe he did, but anyway, so...
I believe it. I fucking believe it.
Maybe when he was younger.
The smile on his face when he said that. Such pride.
Right, back to the thing. But I didn't know how he died. And I love that. And apparently she told Daniel Radcliffe before the last book came out, she's like, you have a death scene. You know, which is kind of a nice way of putting it. And I love that it might seem like a cheat to some people, but it is a moment where you can have your cake and eat it at the same time, because Harry fully commits to... sacrificing his life to save everyone. Another thing I wish they'd mentioned is after he dies, he gives his life to save everyone in the castle. Well, which is the same thing his mother did.
To save everyone.
Which is the same thing that his mother did to protect him. He did it through love, and because of that, no one in the castle can be, like, mortally harmed.
Does it say that in the book?
Yes. He says that to Voldemort flat out in their final confrontation. He's like, have you not noticed how none of your Death Eaters have been able to really hurt anyone here? Because you can't. Because of, you know, what I did. And it's the one thing Voldemort can never understand is love. And that's another thing which I wish was in the film, but I totally understand why it's not in the film, because it's really hard to do that. Maybe you could have done it, though. Which is the whole backstory where Voldemort's mother was a witch who put a love potion on this muggle that she was in love with. So Voldemort was literally born in a loveless
Well,
you
he
know,
says
union.
you don't know love in the Order of the Phoenix.
Yeah.
You don't have any friends. He's already said that.
Yeah, but I love the deeper inner workings of that, where he literally was born from a loveless
Which
relationship.
just proves that books are the best.
I guess,
Movies
I guess, and I understand that you cannot fill everything in there. And then, of course, I said I wasn't going to go into it. I guess I have the Harry Voldemort finale. I love that they made it more of a movie fight. I understand that. You know, I think it was cool. It was well done. Building up the tension of Ron and Hermione trying to get the snake and stuff, and Voldemort going after Harry. I even don't mind the very cheesy line, "Come on, Tom, let's finish this the way we started it together." You know, that's fine. And I love the shot.
Throwing them off the.
And I love the shot where their faces morph when they're kind of grabbing onto each other's face. That's really cool, and a nice symbol of their duality. And they fight in the courtyard. Voldemort dies. And it's very well done, I have to say. It was a lot better than I even remembered it, the way they do it. The music, the build-up, the slow motion, when he finally catches that Elder Wand in his hand because he's the true master of it. Brilliant. Not as big of a fan of Voldemort just kind of vanishing into nothing, which to me felt like it was there to be a cool 3D effect, because they were doing the films in 3D at this point.
Yeah, but he was nothing at that point. He didn't have
Great.
any Horcruxes.
Great point. I totally give you
wasn't,
that. I totally
was barely
give you
a
that.
Horcrux himself.
Yeah, I totally give you that. It does make sense.
He was nothing.
I just love the finality of, in the book, he just splats on the floor, just splayed out, dead. You know, it's just no mistaking it. Whereas it's almost like he's.
Did he get the Avada Kedavra curse in the book?
Yeah, his own curse rebounded on him because it was and that again, that's the thing I keep saying in the book. But with Harry and Voldemort, they face off in the Great Hall with everyone watching. They pace around, and Harry tells Voldemort all the things that you want him to tell him, like that Snape was betraying you from the start because he was in love with my mother. You know, you can't harm anyone here because of what I've just done, the sacrifice I've made, and I am the true master of that wand. That's why it's not serving you. There's no way you're going to win. It's just so great and so satisfying. You could have just
taken someone else's wand.
Right, but it's just so satisfying when he lays it out to him, and also just the.
I would love to see the defeat in Voldemort's eyes.
Yes, exactly.
When he hears
that, you get it.
What's his name? Tom?
Yes, Tom.
No. The guy who actually plays him.
Ralph Fiennes.
Ralph.
Yes, you don't get the spelling of that.
Ralph.
Yeah, okay.
So Ralph, right? He can play really well, and I think that
amazing
the defeat
actor.
in his eyes, when he would hear those words, would have been brilliant.
And I'll even say that the moments when the Horcruxes start getting destroyed and we cut to Voldemort and he's kind of like...
Yeah, that's really good.
He's so good. And again, when he dies, he has that look on his face like he can't believe it. And that is a look of defeat. But I will say, like you said...
Hearing the words.
And oh man, it was just so good. And also the kind of... There's a poetic... element to the fact that Harry and Voldemort, who were both orphans in a way... Well, yeah, they were orphans. Well, no, he was an orphan. Yeah, of course he was. He was in an orphanage, Voldemort. Both orphans, and they both went to Hogwarts, which was the one place they both felt like was home for the very first time. And emblematic of that home is the Great Hall, and those two characters end that journey in that great. It's just, I love that.
On the grounds.
Yeah, so the courtyard is a more cinematic ending, I guess, but I really wish that they'd done that, and it would have been like a 3-minute scene of dialogue, which would be really intense, and then you can have the flashy wand show. That's just my own thing, but again, I will say that I think that it's really well done, and I do really enjoy it. But it's one of my least favorites just because it's the end. You know, it's not one I want to watch all the time because it is really sad, and when it's over, it's over. You know, I kind of like the movies where it's kind of there's still something to come.
I love how Mrs. Weasley kills Bellatrix too.
Yes, that's great, yeah.
She get away from my daughter, you bitch, you proper alien.
Yeah.
Defies that scene. And then her smirk as she knows that she's killed her.
Yeah.
At the same time, that makes me think, like, you just killed someone. Should you be smiling?
I guess.
Even if it's a bad person, you should be like, oh.
I get, but she was like evil personified, you know, she was like the...
True.
She was like literally the queen of evil.
I love Bellatrix. She's such a great actress, the woman who does her.
Absolutely perfect casting for her, for sure.
You'd think that that director who she's married to had something to do with the movie. or the casting.
Oh, Tim Burton. She
Yeah.
used to be married to him. Yeah.
Oh, okay, never mind.
Yeah. There's something else I was gonna say. I love seeing more Voldemort actually. Just I feel like we kind of skirted around him, but Ray Fiennes is so good. The scene in the courtyard. I love that he gets that moment where he feels like he's won, because then you get to see him in that moment where he is just relishing. He's finally killed Harry Potter. Everything's going well. Like he's literally just prancing
You can
around.
join me now. There's no point.
He's literally prancing around, just laughing, and it's so great. He's just such a brilliant heel. So yeah, and then the final scene, 19 years later. Apparently they filmed that, and it just looked really weird with the makeup. So they refilmed that whole thing apparently, because it didn't look right. I'll say it again. Another thing I wish because in that scene at the end, it's very emotional. It's the last ever scene. And, you know, they're all grown up now. It's a very touching thing, but it's very kind of, you know, there's no humor in that scene, and I think Harry Potter is the humor is one of the key ingredients. And in the book, I'm sorry, I really do apologize. In the book, everyone's staring on the platform, right? Because Harry Potter's arrived, and everyone's looking, and one of the kids is like, "Why is everyone staring?" And Ron goes, "Oh, it's just me. I'm incredibly famous," and it's just like one of my favorite lines.
And I didn't put it in.
And I just thought that's like a 4-second line you could throw in that would make people laugh, a nice warm-hearted thing.
I know.
And it would just kind of really balance that scene out, I think. Again, one of my kind of pet peeves. But, you know, we end the film on their faces, watching their kids go off. It's a really nicely done thing. Yeah, so anything you'd like to touch on with part 2? I think we kind of we've talked a lot about this, probably even more we could talk about, but it's one of those things where...
And next up,
we're literally about to dive into Fantastic Beasts, which we will not have time to do the video for on the same night, so... Not that...
The second one premieres next week.
Yes, the Crimes of Grindelwald is coming out next week, and I'm sure we'll definitely do a video on that. That's kind of why we've been doing this, I think. At least in my mind. Even though I've already talked about all these films before, it's been, I guess we can just reflect, I think it's been really enjoyable to watch them all in order, which we haven't done, I don't think, ever, really, from start to finish. No, we haven't, so it's been really, maybe something to do every year or every couple of years around kind of winter time. It's been a really comforting and nice thing to go through, so that's nice.
At least we should do the Fantastic Beasts before the next Fantastic Beast comes out.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, well that's kind of its own thing as well.
But that's why we did it now.
Yeah, no,
that's why I wanted to do it.
That's why you wanted to do it. I wanted to do it because I've been going through a lot of issues with my teeth, and it's just been really getting me down. So when we started watching these Harry Potter films just over a month ago, I was in a really shitty place, like just feeling miserable and down. And watching those first two really nice and bright first films really distracted me, gave me something to get through the workday.
Good thing that we didn't start with the last few.
Yeah,
dark and
I know. Yeah,
depressing.
that's definitely something. But you know, I have all these complaints, but the truth is, I love the way that they did the last two films. But there is always this feeling of the bittersweetness where it's all over, you know. And it's just such a great. It's like its own boyhood, you know. You literally see them grow up over 10 years. It's like a decade of these stories and films.
Childhood.
And you see, huh?
You said boyhood.
What? No, I mean the movie Boyhood, you know.
Oh.
Like a
and then it was our boyhood.
No, I mean like a comparison to that film where you literally see over about a decade these kids grow up through the stories and stuff. And that's another thing that makes it special. Anyway, we'll leave it there. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for the next one. But that's it for the Harry Potter films, which is kind of sad. But we are now going through all the special features which Connie hasn't seen, which is fun for me because there's a load of great ones on that Wizards Collection set. So kind of keeping the Harry Potter thing still going, which is nice.
Kind of like with The Hobbit.
Yeah, oh god, we used to watch so many, like hours and hours of those Hobbit documentaries. Love behind the scenes documentaries. And there's some pretty good ones for the Harry Potter films. So
no one does it better than Peter Jackson though.
Nope, no, you don't get the full deluxe treatment unless you're a Middle-earth movie. So that's it. Thanks for watching. Just that little...
There's a bye.
There's a bye, okay. And yeah, again, thanks for watching. See you in the next one. That's it. Actually, one last thing, because it just occurred to me as I was running down the hallway to grab something to put on because it's quite cold. Don't know why I mentioned that. It popped into my head that a few videos ago I said that I think Daniel Radcliffe's best piece of acting in the entire series was in Hallows Part 2. So here's where I think his best acting is. It's in the scene when he's sat outside the Room of Requirement. They've just destroyed the tiara, the diadem, another Horcrux, and we cut to Voldemort, and he's really just realized now that they're destroying pieces of my soul. And I think he kills one of his Death Eaters. He's just proper riled up about it. That's when he goes down to see Snape at the boathouse. And Harry is just sat there and just kind of reeling, as he's seeing all of this. And it's maybe it doesn't stand out to other people, but to me, I get so zoned in on that moment. Like, I think that's his best piece of acting. There's just something of, you feel the weight of it, just in the way he's reacting without saying anything. And I think that's and another great one actually is also when he's about to walk down to the forest, and Hermione and Ron are there, and Harry says something to the fact that I think I know, or have known for a while now, that I'm the other Horcrux. He doesn't say that, but he implies it, and he says, I think you know it too. And she starts crying, and that is another great piece of acting from her, I think. But I also loved in that scene how Ron kind of holds back. He doesn't go in for a hug or anything. He kind of is just very true to his character, So that's another great scene. And that's it, so goodbye.
It's alright by me. Apart from the fact he throws cans of Carlin into a tree. Yeah, he's really cool. Yeah, he's really cool. But he's not quite as cool as you, 'cause